Hi everyone, my name is Flavia and I thank you for watching. In this video, I will share a few card design ideas using the Concord N9 Hello Sunshine Turnabout stamp and die set. This is a 4x6 stamp set. It is very small, so it will fit in either a mini Misty or the original Misty stamping tool. This stamp set comes with an alignment aid, which is this piece right here on the left. This will help us to perfectly position the stamp inside the stamping tool. In the back, I keep the coordinating dies. This sun-shaped die and stamp are the turnabout pieces, and I will show you how to use both of them. I will start by using the turnabout stamp. The first step is to line up the stamp with the printed image on the alignment aid. The alignment aid has this printed instruction at the bottom that says this side up. So it is very important that we pay attention to that. Also, know that I am holding the inking side of the stamp facing down. Once I have my stamp lined up with the printed image on the alignment aid, I will grab my turnabout jig. This is a very handy guide that you can purchase separately. Notice how this jig has a stitched X on it. To use this jig, I will place it inside my stamping tool on the top right corner and line up the X on the jig with the printed X on the alignment aid that came with the stamp set. Then I can close the door of my stamping tool to pick up the stamp and remove the alignment aid so I can start stamping. This is a 4x5 1/4 piece of Neenah heavyweight cardstock. I'm using removable adhesive to temporarily tape this piece of cardstock to the turnabout jig. This jig has little marks to help you center a 4 1/4 by 5.5 panel, and that is why it took me no time at all to place my cardstock right in the center of this jig. Here are the ink pads that I chose for this first card. Pink is my favorite color, so I chose 4 shades of pink from Altenew Crisp Dye inks. I will start with the lightest colors so the ink pads do not get contaminated if I do not do a good job cleaning up my stamp after each turn. Notice that the corners of this jig have numbers from 1 to 4. This will help us keep track of our turns. Once I am finished with the first round, I will clean up my stamp with a wet cloth, but without removing it from the stamping tool. Then I will turn my jig clockwise. Now I have the number 2 on the top right corner, and I can go ahead and grab the next shade of pink ink. To help me press this stamp down so I get a perfect stamped image, I usually use this Tribot eraser. Turnabout stamps are very fun and easy to use. In the past, I used to feel a little bit intimidated, but I absolutely love it and I feel much more confident using it now that I got this turnabout jig. This Hello Sunshine turnabout stamp set is not new, but I still love it and use it because I think it is a very versatile set that you can use to make cards for any occasion. I will have on my blog links to all of the products used if they are still available. However, if you cannot find this specific set anymore, know that Concord N9 has lots of options when it comes to turnabout stamps and dies. As you can see here, I have already stamped this panel 4 times, which means it is time to work on the sentiment for this card. I chose the It's Your Birthday stamp and I will use a watermark pad to stamp this sentiment so I can later heat emboss it using a silver embossing powder. I'm stamping it on a pink cardstock so it matches the base of my card. If you are new to heat embossing, note that it is very important to prep your cardstock with some anti-static powder before stamping on it to keep the embossing powder from sticking all over your panel. We only want the embossing powder to stick to the stamped sentiment. So that is what I was doing before I stamped this panel using a watermark pad. This fine silver powder is by Ranger and notice how shiny it is. Now I will die cut it using the circle die that came with the coordinating die set. I cut the circle 4 more times after that so I can stack them for dimension. The liquid liquid adhesive that I am using today is the Barely Art Glue. This is a new product to me, but it seems to work great, and the best part is that it dries clear. When you buy this glue, it comes with multiple tips, so you can choose the one that is right for you. This long one that I have right now is definitely not working for me, as I feel I am using and wasting too much glue. But I didn't want to stop what I was doing to change the tip of this bottle, which I know it's a mistake. Because the base of this card is dark pink, soon I will add white panels inside where I will write a message. And now that I have the circle sentiment in place, I will move on to my favorite part of card making, which is adding embellishments. I'm using little heart-shaped sequins, and I will only use the ones that are either dark pink, light pink, or silver. And believe it or not, I still haven't changed the tip of this bottle yet. I was really excited about this project and I didn't want to stop creating. This corner that I'm using to help me line up the white panel is called Stamping Corners, and I got it from Etsy. It comes in a pack with many corners like this, but with different thickness. It is a great product, and to be honest, it has become one of my most used tools. To adhere the second white panel to this card base, I will place it on top of the first one with the side that has liquid adhesive facing up. Then I can close the card and let it dry for a few minutes. Once it is dry, I can open the card and I will have two white panels perfectly placed inside of this card. So here is a closer look on this very pink card, and before we move on to the next, let's decorate the envelope so everything matches. I will use this border die by Mama Elephant and that same pink cardstock to cut this heart border. I will adhere this border to the flap of the envelope and trim off the excess. This pink cardstock is by Recollections, and again I will have a supply list along with pictures of these cards on my blog if you're interested. I love how this card turned out and how the card and the envelope go together, even though I use products from different companies. Now, for the second card, I want to show you how to use the turnabout die. This panel measures 4 by 5/1/4 inches, and the first step is to find the center of the panel you are using. To do that, I will use this long font zero centering ruler, which is very helpful since it will allow me to quickly find the center of this panel without having to count tick marks, which used to be my pet peeve. Then I will place the die in the center and trace that little X. The difference between the turnabout stamp and the turnabout die is that with the turnabout stamp, you rotate the cardstock, and when using the turnabout die, we are going to rotate the die. And every time that we rotate this die, we have to make sure that the center of the die lines up with the mark that we traced on the cardstock. To hold my die in place without damaging my cardstock, I will use a low-tech tape. The die cut machine that I am using is the Gemini Junior, and I like to add a piece of scrap paper on top of my panel just to add a little bit more pressure and to protect my panel. Let's now skip to turn number 4, since the process is the same for all turns, and check out the beautiful panel that we created. I will adhere this mint color panel on top of a holographic cardstock, which will make this card have a lot of shine in person. I am again using that stamping corner to help me to perfectly center the mint panel on top of the holographic panel. I find it is also helpful if you position the base of your card inside on the corner of your stamping tool or inside the scoring board, as I am doing here, to keep it from moving as you adhere your panel. I'm again heat embossing the sentiment with that same silver embossing powder. I also die cut some extra circles so I can build up some dimension. I will adhere this panel to a white heavyweight cardstock and then add some embellishments. I was considering adding some silver beads to this panel. However, I had a jar of chunky glitter right in front of me that perfectly matched this card, so I will use that instead. Let me give you a closer look here so you can better see the colors of this chunky glitter. I've seen some projects on the internet where crafters use the sentiment banner in the center instead of the circle, and it looked really nice. So I would definitely use the banner the next time I use this stamp and die set. To finish it up, I will decorate the flap of this envelope using the leftover die-cut pieces. After I have positioned all of the die-cut pieces in place, right where I want them to go, I will use a piece of press and seal to pick them up all at once. This is a good trick to quickly pick up many die-cut pieces at once to add adhesive in the back, and then the best part is that it will allow you to quickly position everything back where they were. And finally, 2 hours later, I decided to change the tip of this adhesive bottle because I just couldn't take it any longer. I will switch to this very short and thin tip so I can have more control of the amount of glue I apply to my project. I cannot believe it took me this long. Luckily, it dries clear so the little bit of excess glue that I got on the other cards won't show. Notice how much control I have now over the amount of glue that I apply to my project, especially to these thin die cuts. This is definitely the right bottle tip for me. I usually wait a few minutes for the glue to dry before removing the press and seal. This is the last card for today and I really like all of the shine from this holographic cardstock. Before we go, let me show you a few other cards that I made off camera using the Concord & Knife Hello Sunshine set. This purple one is very similar to the first card. However, for this one I chose the sentiment Good Vibes, but I did not stack the die cut circle. I used holographic embossing powder for the sentiment, that is why it is so shiny, and I added those same heart-shaped sequins but in different colors. I also used that heart border die to cut a purple border for the flap of this envelope. Next, we have this very yellow card with lots of golden beads on the front panel. The sentiment in the center is in Portuguese. It says never stop shining. I used a laser printer to print the sentiment and then I foiled it using gold foil to match the card. All of these cards measure 4¼ by 5½ and they can go inside an A2 size envelope. Here is another one made out of silver and blue cardstock. The sentiment Feliz Aniversário means happy birthday in Portuguese, and I also foiled it after printing the sentiment using my laser printer. I used silver glitter and navy blue cardstock and added flat back silver beads to the front panel. To make it match, I added a strip of glitter cardstock to the flap of the envelope. So these were all of the cards. You can find in the description below links to my blog as well as to my Instagram page where you can find pictures and more information. I hope you enjoyed this video and I appreciate you watching it. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel so you do not miss the next one. I hope you have a wonderful week. Take care and until next time.